Welcome to rSlash Entitled People, where OP's friend demands half of OP's inheritance. Our next Reddit post is from Old Wishbone. So, my great aunt passed away and left me with a decent inheritance. Nothing wild, but enough to pay off my student loans and set aside a little savings. I told my friend, Rachel, over lunch. She got quiet and then said, "Wow, must be nice. I bet you'll help your friends who weren't so lucky growing up." I laughed and said something like, I'll probably treat my friends to dinner more often. She stared at me and said, dead serious, "No, like actually help. We've known each other forever. I think it'd be fair if you split it." I thought she was joking. She was not. She then brought up all the time she covered my coffee in college and says, "This is just the universe evening the score." Needless to say, I didn't share a dime. She blocked me on Instagram and told our mutual friends that I ghosted her after I got rich. Sorry, Rachel. The only thing I'm splitting is the check with people who actually support me. Our next Reddit post is from Quick Estimate. I'm a 25-year-old woman, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 18 due to a spinal injury. It's sleek and metallic purple, my favorite color, and something that makes me feel a little more like me. My dad recently married, and his new wife, the entitled mother of this story, is something else. A few weeks before the wedding, she called me and said, "Hey, for the ceremony, can you maybe rent a black wheelchair, or at least one that doesn't look so flashy?" I asked why, and she said, "You'll be in a lot of the pictures, and I don't want it to be a distraction." I told her flat out that I'm not dimming myself for her aesthetic. She went crying to my dad. To his credit, he backed me up, said I could come however I wanted or not at all. She gave me side-eye all wedding day, but I rolled in, bright purple and all, and got compliments from other guests about how it looked. And now that she's married, she barely talks to me. Not that I'm complaining. Our next Reddit post is from Rosie Giggleswish. A couple of months ago, I bought my first house. It's nothing fancy, but it's got a small backyard, and one of the first things I did was put up a wooden privacy fence so my dog could run around without bothering anyone. Cue my next-door neighbor, Linda, who came over the day after the fence was finished. She was holding a mug like she was going to give me friendly new neighbor vibes. Nope. She asked if I would mind moving my fence back about 6 feet. I asked her why I would do that. She told me it blocked her view from her kitchen window, and she liked to look out at the trees, and that if I moved it back, I'd still have plenty of yard. I explained as politely as I could that the fence was entirely on my property line since I'd had the survey done, and moving it would literally give her 6 more feet of my yard for free. She said that she's lived there for 15 years and has always had that view, so it was basically hers. I laughed. I couldn't help it, and I told her no. Since then, she's accidentally thrown her leaves and branches over the fence twice. And last week, I caught her trying to peek over with a stepladder. When I confronted her, she said if I weren't so selfish, she wouldn't have to. Ooh, I love this comment from D Cars. Ask her why doesn't she just move her kitchen window to a spot where she can get her view back. Our next Reddit post is from Spooky Girl. I was traveling to Las Vegas to meet up with some friends, and I pre-booked my seat. With this airline, they charge extra for certain seats. I chose a window seat with extra legroom due to my disability, which cost me an additional $45. When boarding, there was a man in my seat with another in the aisle seat. The middle was open. I checked my seat number and then politely told the man that he was in my seat and asked for him to move. I am a petite female, and both men were about 6 feet tall and over 200 pounds. When both opened their mouths, it definitely appeared like they both were used to using their size to get their way. The man in the aisle immediately told me that the man at the window didn't have to move, and I could sit in the middle. After all, he said, I shouldn't make a scene about it. That really pissed me off. I didn't raise my voice and was very polite. I said I wasn't making a scene, but I was asking nicely for the seat that I paid for. That's when he stood up and attempted to physically intimidate me. But here's the thing. I worked in frontline healthcare. I'm used to men attempting to use their size and mouth to intimidate, and this behavior does not work with me. So I decided to take another tactic. I turned my head to the man in the seat and told him that I'd make him a deal. He gives me $50 cash and I'll give him my seat. I told him I paid an additional $45 for the seat, and with tax, it should be around $50. If he gives me the money, the seat would be his. This is when he turned to me in shock and said, "You want me to pay you $50 for your seat?" I answered, "So you're admitting that you knew this wasn't your seat? I'm going to call the airline staff, and they can take you to your seat. After all, I booked this seat due to me having a disability, and you're trying to steal it." Everyone around us turned to look at him, and they did not have kind looks on their faces. He turned 14 shades of red and moved to the middle seat. He pulled his hoodie over his head and sulked the rest of the flight. His friend did the same. Our next Reddit post is from Seraphim Sphinx. Our town has a children's museum. It's cute and full of activities from baby through 9 years old or so. The baby and toddler areas have gates that latch for obvious reasons. Well, Karen decided that she would use her authority to have her toddler leave. So she opens the toddler gate and tells her child that it's time to leave, now. Well, her kid doesn't move and clearly wants to stay and play. Instead of closing the gate, retrieving the toddler, and going on with her life, Karen decided to hold the gate open and start demanding her toddler listen. So, of course, other toddlers book it out, and Karen continues to hold the gate open and does nothing to prevent this and just keeps yelling at her kid. Instant chaos as parents and grandparents scramble out to catch the escaped tots. Toddlers are running to open elevators, to balconies, into the manager's office, and my child was booking it towards the stairs. I'm about to catch my child when she ducks into the art room, messy but safe, and I notice a toddler nearly to the stair landing, which are 2-story and stone. I glance back and see that the kid's grandma is going as fast as she can, but nowhere near fast enough. So I leave my kid to her painty fate and snatch up the other kid and deliver him to a grateful grandma. I hear a dad say, "Close the gate!" as he has one twin in surfboard meltdown and another one just booked it out of the gate towards me in the paint room. This Karen then yells at him that it's not her job to watch his kids, that she has 3 kids of her own to handle. She's still holding open the gate. I'm acting as a shepherd of sorts between the toddlers and the stairs. Paint is everywhere, with unsupervised tots not wearing their paint-proof smocks going hog wild. With this sudden chaos, a manager came to see what was happening, and 2 dads point to Karen, who's finally picked up her child and shut the gate. Karen then tells the manager how she felt unsafe because a dad yelled at her to close the gate, and she demanded action. By then, all the parents had corralled their kids, and they said how irresponsible the Karen's behavior was. Karen then launches into a tirade about how it's not her job to watch all of our children. The manager tells her that she's banned, and she starts screaming, so security gathers her and her 3 kids and march them out. I feel bad for her children, but honestly, how entitled do you have to be? A simple, "I'm sorry, I froze when the kids ran out. I wasn't thinking straight." Literally anything. But she wanted to act like she was a victim and that she felt unsafe after releasing half a dozen toddlers into dangerous situations. Our next Reddit post is from Chell. A couple of years ago, I was on a fully booked international flight. The flight was going to be 8 hours, and it was one of those big planes with 3 rows. 3 seats on the left, 4 seats in the middle, and 3 seats on the right. I was in economy sitting alone in the aisle seat of one of the side rows. A couple with their already unhappy toddler walks up, and the wife and kid sits down in the middle row beside me. The dad looks around distraught, talks to his partner, and asks me if I could switch seats with him so that he could sit with his family. I was reluctant, but asked him what seat he had. To my surprise, he said that he had a seat in business class, so of course I said absolutely. I started to get up and grab my luggage, but once I stood up, he was like, "Wait, my wife actually wanted to go sit up in business class. Could you take her seat instead?" I said, "No, I'm not switching to the middle row and being blocked into a middle seat by a screaming toddler. And you said you wanted to sit with your family." The dad got all defensive and switched up, holding up traffic during this entire interaction, by the way, raising his voice, going on about how I said that I could switch seats with him and how it's not fair to his wife, who had planned on taking his seat up in business class. Not my proudest moment, but I was starting to sass him back. I'm pretty sure I asked him something along the lines of if he had any extra of whatever drugs he was on, because it had to have been some top-notch stuff for him to be acting so crazy in public. At this point, a flight attendant had finally squeezed her way up to us and asked why we weren't taking our seats. Before I could say anything, this man had the audacity to say that I had offered to take his wife's seat and now I wasn't cooperating. I called BS. Thankfully, the passenger sitting behind me backed me up, and the flight attendant was not in the mood to play. She asked to see his ticket, told me to grab my luggage, and escorted me up to his seat. Needless to say, I had a very nice flight after that. Our next Reddit post is from Gleefroth. I'm 38, a structural engineer, and I live with my husband and our cat. My mother-in-law showed up unannounced this weekend, on Friday with her suitcase, calling it a holiday. She always hated that I have a cat, but this scenario was unexpected. My mother-in-law can't stop visiting unexpectedly and uninvited. She compared my cat to termites, mold, and even said that if you let an animal wreck your own home, how can anyone trust you to build safe structures? I've worked over decades to build my career, and she reduced all of it to an insult over my cat, a pet. Yesterday night, she gave me an ultimatum. It's either me or the cat. If you care about this family, you'll prove it by getting rid of it. Those were her exact words. I told her that the cat stays. This is my home. You don't get to walk in and decide who lives here. She screamed that I always need control and locked herself in the guest room. This morning, she left without saying a word. My husband is stuck in the middle, and I can't get past the grudge. It wasn't just her dislike of the cat, but it was her trying to tear down my work, my stability, and my sense of family. She just shows up to someone else's house and thinks they can evict their pets? OP, you need a wake-up call. Your husband isn't stuck in the middle, he's spineless. Not quite the same thing. Our next Reddit post is from Traditional Gersine. This was honestly one of the weirdest work things I've ever dealt with. There's a woman in my office that I'm friendly with, but not close to. We've had small talk here and there, nothing deep. No lunches together. No real outside of work connection. She found out that I was getting married and asked when the wedding was. Then she straight up asked if she was invited. I kinda laughed and said, "Oh no, it's really small, just close friends and family." I didn't think anything of it. She got quiet and a little cold after that, but I figured, okay, maybe an awkward moment, whatever. Fast forward a few days later, and I get a meeting invite from HR. Turns out she filed a complaint saying that I was being exclusive and creating a hostile environment by leaving people out because I didn't invite her to my wedding that I'm paying for that isn't even work related. So I had to sit in this HR meeting and explain that I'm not required to invite coworkers that I barely know to my literal wedding. This is a personal event. This has nothing to do with work or who's in the office. HR honestly looked just as confused as I was. They basically said, "Yep, okay, thanks," and closed the case. But now my coworker acts super passive-aggressive towards me, like side eyes, little digs when I walk by, still bringing it up in these weird sarcastic comments like, "Some people are so inclusive these days." I can't believe she actually thought that HR could what? Make me invite her? Some people really do think that they're the main character. Our next Reddit post is from Bina Ninja. So today, I saw a baby left alone in the car while I was in the grocery parking lot. I couldn't risk it. How was I supposed to know how long the baby had been in there or what could happen? So, of course, I called the police. The mom comes running out of the store when she sees them by her car, apparently located by announcing her plate over the store PA. And then she's fuming. Her excuse, "My baby was asleep. I didn't want to wake him up. I was only out for 5 minutes. Yeah, sure. You never know what can happen to a baby in 5 minutes. But what really got me was the nasty look she kept giving me while the officer was reprimanding her. Like somehow this was my fault? The nerve. Some people really think the world revolves around them, even when a baby's safety is at stake. Our next Reddit post is from Biden Acton. So, this lady from across the street knocks on my door in the middle of the day. Super serious look on her face. I open the door thinking something's wrong, like maybe my car alarm's going off or something. Nope, she goes, "Can you do something about the glare from your windows? It's shining into my kitchen." I just stood there trying to process that for a solid 5 seconds. Then I said, I'll see if NASA takes custom requests. She didn't laugh, just said, "Well, it's really inconvenient." and walked away like I actually had the power to dim the sun. Some people need a manual for reality. That was rSlash Entitled People, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.